expect you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scum Bar. Welcome to Scumbar Podcast Marvel Movie Marathon, where we go through the 22 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Iron Man donning his first suit and ending with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. We're going to talk Iron Man, Captain America, Earth's strongest Avenger, and everything in between. I'm your host, Captain Mattbrush, and with me today is the Incredible Hulk himself.
Strongest Avenger. Strongest Avenger. You puny.
Hulk.
Hello.
Hulk like
It's
fire.
me, Anth0z.
Thor like
Yeah,
puny fire.
all of his lines were really good. I just can't remember any of them. It's been a while.
Anth0z, how you doing? Welcome to the Scumbar Podcast.
Thanks. How you doing?
I do goo. I do goo. How you?
You do good? You do good? I do good too.
Goo.
Oh.
Warning to everybody listening to this right now. I'm sorry you have to listen to our unintelligible language, but also, this Scumbar podcast is going to contain spoilers for this very movie and the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, don't listen. But if you do want to hear spoilers, continue listening, please.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's about it.
Yeah.
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 Anth0z, this week we're going to be talking about 2017's Thor Ragnarok, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Kate Blanchett, Mark Ruffalo, and Jeff Goldblum.
Ooh.
I know. This is quite a wild ride. We've also got
a
a
nice
few others
cast.
in there, like, what's his name? Anthony Hopkins makes an appearance. We've also got Matt Damon randomly in this thing.
Yep.
We've also got Carl Urban, who comes back from Lord of the
Oh
Rings.
yeah, that's right. Scourge.
He's kind of a mix between Éomer and the Doom Marines from the Doom movie. So he's like...
he totally is.
Yeah, he gets to be both
Yeah.
roles in one movie.
And then we've also got, who's the guy? I wrote his name down. Clancy Brown, who voices Surtur. And he's in other Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I know the face. I can't remember anything he's been in, though. But I can picture his face in my head.
He was in Daredevil and Punisher.
Okay.
What else? I mean, he's in a whole ton of stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, Anth0z, why don't you give us a brief synopsis of this film?
Here we go. 4 years after defeating the Dark Elves and 2 years after the fight in Sokovia, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, now finds himself trapped on the other side of the universe on the wacky planet of Sakaar. Meanwhile, a new threat rises as the evil Hela, goddess of death, played by Kate Blanchett, takes over Asgard and plans to conquer the universe. In order to get home, Thor must compete in gladiator match against the defending champion of the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum. Little does Thor know is that the champion is his old friend and fellow Avenger, the Incredible Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo. Teaming with the Incredible Hulk and his deceptive brother Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, Thor must return home to Asgard in time to stop Hela and prevent the approaching Ragnarok, the apocalyptic destruction of Asgard.
Oh, I can't help but notice, but they missed a character. They didn't say who was playing Bruce Banner. Such a shame.
They did not.
They missed it. Wow. What a shame.
They also didn't... Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, I feel like Tessa Thompson should have gotten some sort of...
Oh, is that Valkyrie?
Yeah.
Which I just discovered in this watch through that that's the same actress as in Creed. I had no idea it was the same actress until this watch through and went, oh, it's her. Like,
yeah, and she's in Westworld, and she's probably in a bunch of other stuff too.
oh,
now.
no way. Wow. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about her in Westworld, of course. Yeah.
Are you caught up with Westworld?
No, not at all. I saw the first
Okay.
season. I liked it, but that was it.
That's probably why you wouldn't have seen her, because I'm not sure if she was even... no way. Actually, she might have been in the first season a little
I feel
bit.
like she's one of like the board director people, isn't she? She's like
Yeah,
She
exactly.
comes in later in the first season, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah,
Spoilers.
she's a good actress. I just didn't know it was her for Valkyrie.
She does a good job.
I'm probably showing my cards a little too early here, but I don't really like the character of Valkyrie all that much, so that's probably the reason why I didn't really think she was the same actress, because I really like her in Creed, so I probably wouldn't have associated the two characters as being played from the same person. But that's what actors do. They play different people.
No.
So.
No, they don't.
They
They play the different personalities of themselves.
True.
That's all.
Well, these days a lot of them do. I just wanted to tell the audience real quick though, is that Anth0z actually always reads those synopsis summaries without reading them beforehand. So he's always just going in blind. He's just reading whatever I write. or whatever I've copied and pasted. So I could write anything in there, and he would just start reading.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't know until afterwards that like, oh, that's okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, okay, I didn't realize. I mean, I should have realized because I could see how long this one was. I decided to go with a voice that I couldn't. I don't think I could keep it up for that whole paragraph, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
You did well.
It's fine.
Yeah,
we don't need consistency in this podcast, right?
Yes.
Good.
And without further ado, let's move into our podcast here. What we like to do on the Marvel Movie Marathon podcast is break the movie down into 3 different acts, and then grind out each act. But what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about something where I mentioned what the movie was like when I saw it in the theaters. Anthony is making fun of what I wrote down. I wrote down, I enjoyed the Flash, but not the content. He's wondering where the Flash showed up from DC Universe.
I did not see Barry Allen anywhere in this movie.
I meant it's got all the sizzle, but no steak is what I'm really trying to say. This movie, to me, and I don't mean to sound harsh, but it was like this in the theater, and it kind of got reinforced the second time I watched it here, is that it's not a bad movie by any means. It's incredibly fun to watch. It's got a lot of funny lines in it. It's very bright.
It's very Taika.
Yeah, yes. But it doesn't have anything for me to grasp onto emotionally to really enjoy the characters all that much. Okay. My favorite scenes you'll see are the ones where you're getting the briefest glimpses of emotion, but people make fun of Thor: The Dark World so much, but there are some great moments between Loki and Thor in that movie. Even though the movie itself is not necessarily all that entertaining, there's some great emotional scenes in it. I don't get any of those, as far as I can remember. I don't really get any of those in this movie. I'm getting just a lot of sizzle, but no steak. So that's what I thought in the theaters, and surprisingly enough, spoiler, I still feel that way about this film. It's not bad, but that's where I'm at with it. Anyways, Do you remember what it was like when you saw it in the theaters? Because I think you have a different take.
I laughed a lot. So for me, it was I got a lot of shake and fries.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake, baby. I don't think I got much of the steak either. I guess if that's what you're comparing to relationships, I guess. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Emotional story, heavy hitting moments, I think. Any reason to really think about the movie later on, to come back to it, right?
I guess, yeah, there would have only been one moment that I can think of, is that's when they're saying bye to Odin, right? Otherwise, everything else, I guess, like, it doesn't seem like they even really give much time to build relationships with people, or I guess get that emotional connection, just because there's always something. Everybody's always in some sort of like new situation, different situation, but they take every moment to just make something funny out of it, as opposed to getting like a deeper connection, which
it's very surface level, which is not bad. It just doesn't hit anything emotional. You know how like your favorite emotional scenes are because they're relatable to something in your regular life? There's not much relatable in this film to take back to you when you start living your regular life after watching the movie. But when you watch Loki and he's all putting on a face because his mother just died, and he's pretending to be all, confident, and then Thor calls him out on it, and you realize that he's actually distraught because his mother died in the Dark World. That's actually something that people can relate to in their regular lives. We all put on a mask sometimes when doing something, so we can relate to Loki in that situation. In this situation, there's not much we can relate to when Thor's like going off and making fun of Surtur, and then like getting chased by a dragon and all. I don't know. It's all really fun, but doesn't hit you. It's not relatable, I guess.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Not many of us can pick up a hammer and fly around and have a dragon's head slide behind us. And
I mean, these movies are superhero movies anyways. I totally get it. It's just based on what Marvel movies have built already to get to this point. This is a huge shift tonally than a lot of the other films we had watched. And a lot of what I liked in Thor leading up to this was the family dynamics, because I found them relatable and fun. But now it's different. So let's get into it then. We're going to start here with Act 1. And I name my Act 1, How I Got Here.
Is that you or Thor?
Thor.
Okay. Yeah, as the first...
Yeah.
That's like his opening line, right? Yeah.
I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yeah. Mine is, forget what you think you know.
Ooh. Is that a Doctor Strange line? Maybe not.
I mean, it might have been referenced there, but I was thinking it kind of relates to... Think about what you know about Asgard.
Oh, yeah.
Like just the idea of Asgard, about what you know about Odin, even Mjolnir, like being able to be broken so easily, and And forget what you think you know about MCU movies now that we've seen this one,
True.
directed by Taika Waititi, which is completely different
Yeah.
from any other movie that we've seen in the MCU.
It radically
until now,
changes, I
so.
think, the MCU after this movie. Like every movie after it tried to be more like this one, I think.
Yeah, and if not more like this one, more just away from the previous movies and just trying to be their own thing while at the same time trying to exist within the same universe.
Yeah, the critique that Marvel movies were getting really same, like all of them were the same story structure, that was really well known to the Marvel execs at this moment in time. So Thor Ragnarok was trying to break that kind of stigma. What's funny is I actually do remember you and I talking about this movie. Same with Spider-Man Homecoming. But we hadn't had a podcast at that time yet, but we were really close. We were like talking all the time about movies and just breaking down stuff. And I remember us breaking down Thor. So I was searching for our episode about Thor and realized that we don't actually have a Thor Ragnarok episode. And it's because...
Oh, that's why we're doing it now.
And yeah, we're doing it now. But that's because our podcast came out after the fact. But it's just funny because I do remember us sitting down talking about Thor Ragnarok a whole bunch. So... Anyways, here we go. In Act 1, we've got a scene here. I will play Stephen Strange. You will play Thor.
If you knew where he was, why didn't you call me?
I had to tell you. He did not want to be disturbed. Your father, he had chosen to remain in exile, and you don't have a phone.
No, I don't have a phone, but you could have sent me an electronic letter. It's called an email.
Yeah? Do you have a computer?
No, what for? Nice.
Okay, so getting into the film here, we are going to start off with, like we said earlier, Thor is chained up and in... He's chained up and in hell, I guess. And he's briefly explaining to the audience and the skeleton next to him why he is stuck in the cage. And kind of just sort of explaining the... You know, he kind of goes over the events a little bit of Thor the Dark World and the Dark Elves, and he goes into a little bit of the events of Age of Ultron and fighting off the robots and all that kind of stuff. Kind of briefly just explains all that to people who have not seen those movies, which was no one at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And after that, Thor is then immediately into a battle with, as you mentioned earlier, Surtur, who is the, I guess, Titan of the underworld kind of thing. And he is like a fire-ish Titan who eventually will bring the destruction of Asgard with Ragnarok, which is obviously the title of the film.
So yeah, I noticed that this conversation, I feel like it kind of set the pace in terms of, or not set the pace, it set the stage in terms of what to expect for the rest of this movie, because they opened up with it's a pretty comical moment, right? And I wouldn't really picture up until this point seeing Thor in the situation where he would be like, he's chained up and while he's spinning, you know, he's not making fun of the situation, but it's just like he's kind of going with it, like, oh, sorry, wait, turn it around. And it's a comical situation, and I feel like it was a pretty good way to just intro, like, okay, by the way, this is what the rest of the movie is going to be like.
Right.
Just a bunch of random funny kind of situations, not always going to be bent on like funny lines, I guess you could say. Like, you know, they're not trying to be quippy about it or anything, but it's just what's happening and how they make fun of it. I feel like that was a big foreshadowing for the rest of the movie.
I think this scene really shows my bias because his whole conversation with Surtur is very lighthearted and very, like you said, comical. And for me, I really like the Norse mythology book by Neil Gaiman, and they actually go over a lot of Ragnarok, and they go over a lot of these interesting moments that this movie's trying to go over in a Marvel kind of way. And for me, I guess the fanboy of Norse mythology and me is like really wanting to see some of these cool moments, and then they're just really just spitting all over the grave of like Norse mythologies with like their jokes. So for me, it's hard for me to find them funny when I got my shield up already, like wanting to watch more of the Norse side of things. And I feel like there was a movie somewhere else that wasn't done as a comedy where this was taken a lot more seriously, and this was actually the middle of the film and not the very beginning of the film. But it's not a bad scene. It's just not what I really wanted, I guess, out of like Thor and Surtur and them talking and going through their battle. In this, Thor pretty much finds out that he just needs to capture Surtur's crown, and then he needs to mix it with the eternal flame, and that's what would bring around Ragnarok. So in his mind, he just needs to take the crown and take it and go back to Asgard, and then he's done. So
and
really
keep it away from... he needs to bring the crown to Asgard, closer to the flame, but keep it away from the flame. That is the plan.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of makes sense. I get it. You know, if you have both artifacts, then you know where they are, which is nice. But yeah, it wouldn't be too hard for someone to just mix one with the other, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it kind of seems to me like Thor purposely got himself trapped then, just in order to be able to stop this from happening. I don't know if they explain that later, but in Age of Ultron, he has a vision about Ragnarok, so it almost seems like he's trying to make it so that that prophecy isn't fulfilled here by then just going and getting captured by Surtur to be able to grab the crown, to be able to keep it in Asgard so this never happens. It's not really explained, but I assume that's his plan. He then decides to escape from Hell by using Mjolnir, and we have that long-running joke now where his hammer just takes forever to get to him and it starts crashing into everything on its way to him. And I do like this. This whole version of Hell is really fun. I like all the minions and stuff in there. I like how there's this huge dragon. It really seems like it's out of like some kind of metal artwork, like a metal album or something.
Oh yeah, totally.
Very cool stuff. And the music in this is totally different than the other Thor music we're used to, but really fitting. It seems to work really well.
So fitting. I love the music.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is really fun. I think it's fitting because we're onto this other world where it's very vibrant, very colorful, and I find the music to be, it's like a good mixture of like the orchestral that we're used to, but also at the same time a little bit of like I don't know what you call it, cosmic rock, cosmic metal.
Yeah, it's like hair metal, from like 80s hair metal bands. It's very similar to that. It reminds me of, and it goes hand in hand. Like Norse mythology and heavy rock or heavy metal have always gone hand in hand. There's always there's just a huge history of those two working well together. So it actually totally makes sense in this film for them to be written together. It's like metal and religion also goes really well together. So metal and Norse mythology goes well. I guess that's religion, but still. So it's just interesting. I like it. I like the whole mix. I like the chase with the dragon scene. I even like the Bifrost moment. So Thor is not able to get through the Bifrost. It's not working. He's asking Heimdall, who's not there, interestingly enough. And we have a new person now whose name is Scourge. Played by, like we said earlier, Carl Urban, who is right out of New Zealand. And he's with two women and showing off his new guns, Des and Troy. When they're together, they destroy.
And he's so happy about it.
Yeah. I actually like him. He doesn't have many lines, but I actually think he's a good character.
I think so too. And we don't need to see much of him, but what we do see of him, it's good enough.
Yeah, he does a good job. I like this moment how they're like, do you need to answer that? It's pretty much like a phone call. Thor's trying to get through the Bifrost. And he's like, no. And he's just kind of bumbling, runs up, grabs the sword, puts it in the thing and walks
He's holding that shake weight.
Yeah, he's got the shake weight, I like how he opens up the Bifrost and then he closes it and it actually snaps on the dragon's neck. So it cuts the dragon in half, or its head, I guess, in half. And then Thor comes flying through, but so does the dragon and all the guts. That was actually a cool moment. I thought that was fun.
It's a funny moment, and it's just one of those it's a very, I don't know how to explain it, but it's the kind of humor where it's very, it's like awkward situation kind of humor, but they just stretch it out so much to the point where okay, that the longer it lasts, the funnier it gets, even though it's the same thing over and over again. And the head, you wouldn't expect that in any other movie to keep traveling that far, right? But it does. Yeah. And it's just something about it's just really funny.
After Thor comes in through the Bifrost, I don't remember the interaction between the two of them, but he pretty much heads right into Asgard. And as he comes into Asgard, he notices that there is a play going on about the death of Loki. And this is where we see the appearance of Matt Damon, who is playing Loki. And I don't know if the actor who played Thor was anybody of importance. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. He just looked like he looked like the same guy who plays one of his posse, what are they called?
Oh yeah,
Sif and the Warriors. I don't remember
the Warriors something. Yeah, I can't remember now. Now I've lost it.
And the
Warriors 3.
The Warriors 3.
The Warriors 3.
Yeah, we got it.
So then they're at the play, and Thor notices that Odin is watching the play, and to all the audience, we already know that it's Loki who is Odin, and Thor already has an idea that Loki has usurped the throne based on what Surtur had mentioned to him, that Odin was not even in Asgard. So Thor is already under this impression that maybe something's up. And as he's watching Odin watch the play, he realizes pretty quickly that it is Loki that is masquerading as Odin. So then Thor decides to play a little joke on Loki, and he decides to throw his hammer. I actually like this. This is a really good way to threaten somebody. He throws his hammer really far, and then he holds Loki's head with his hammer, or with his hand, and just waits for the hammer to come back. That is such a smart way to torture somebody.
Actually, I like the little motion beforehand. He throws it just a little bit.
Oh
it comes back right away. But I like how Anthony Hopkins' movement, the way he watches and then comes back, because Anthony Hopkins is a bit older, and usually when you see him in roles, he's a little bit on the stiffer side. He's not a very flowy animated kind of person, but the way he watched it and came back, I was like, wow, I feel like he really did a good job imitating Loki or imitating Tom.
Oh,
Hiddleston
you can
as
totally feel
Loki.
Loki in his facial expressions.
Yeah.
Too. He's doing a very good job.
He does a really good job. I love it. And then that switch later on when he's back as himself as Odin, and it's a vast change, and it's such a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
After the threaten of Thor and Loki, pretty much almost immediately Loki comes out of Odin's body and then explains to Thor that, yeah, he was just trying to keep the peace. Look how happy everybody is. Thor doesn't believe it at all. Almost immediately he says, where's father? And then Loki says, well, I left him on Earth. So then they travel to Earth. And if it sounds like I'm going through this quickly, that's the pace of this movie. It is this quick. It is very fast.
Yeah, that's true.
So Thor and Loki, they go off to Earth to find Odin. This is where Loki left Odin at an old folks retirement community, and that is now being demolished.
Yep.
So they both don't really know where he is. I like this line here where Thor makes fun of Loki for having, like, Loki's like, I don't know where he is. I'm not a witch. I can't see the future. And Thor's like, why do you dress like one then?
Yeah.
I love how Loki like looks really dapper and like really nice clothes, and like Thor just kind of looks basic with an umbrella.
Right. I think like, okay, it's probably more so the hair because it's, you know, that long,
That's true.
long black kind of greasy looking hair.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, I feel like you probably wouldn't pull off that joke, but yeah.
It was a good exchange though. I liked it.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, Loki falls through the floor, which, if you're a keen-eyed expert eagle like we are, you would have noticed right away that this is a Doctor Strange trick. So you would have known.
And if you didn't get it from that, then you would get it from the address, Bleecker Street.
Bleecker Street.
17th, what is 17th A?
So then it...
Is that the Doctor Strange?
I don't really remember. I think it's do something like that, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, it transitions off to Thor heading off to Bleecker Street with the little card that he had. Oh, I love this subtle line where he picks up the card and goes, Loki? He's like, thinks Loki fell into the card. It's a great nod to just Thor. Thor's not dumb, but he doesn't understand a lot of things that he doesn't need to understand. He doesn't think larger than he has to. He uses brawn before brain, right? And that's true to his Norse mythology side. So those little moments like that I love, where he's just like, he doesn't get what just happened. And he tries as hard as he can. Loki?
I mean, I guess it's I'd appreciate that more anyway compared to, like, I feel like we'd see some other movies where that would happen to somebody, and then the person that's left over, whoever is in place of Thor, wouldn't just look at the ground. They would look like everywhere else. You know, people do that in TV shows and movies, right? Like something happens right in front of them, but they look behind them. They look like below and above, and like, why are you looking there? It was right in front of you.
Yeah,
like, doesn't make sense.
It's because I didn't know what green screen effect was going to happen at that CGI moment.
I guess so. Yeah.
So in this moment, then, Doctor Strange greets Thor at his house. We've already seen this scene actually in the ending of Spider-Man: Homecoming, and we saw a little nod to this. So Doctor Strange is talking to Thor and talking to him about why is he here? Why did he bring Loki? What are they doing on Earth? And pretty much Thor just says, "Oh, I'm here for my father." And that's when Stephen Strange mentions, "Oh, that's all you're here for? Sweet." And I love this moment where he's like, you can like see him relax immediately. He's just like, "Oh, okay, that's it? Sweet. Well, we can figure that one out." And just how he transports around the room is so genius. I love that. He doesn't walk anymore. He's too lazy for walking.
Who needs to walk?
It reminds me of like somebody playing like modded Minecraft or something like that, and they've got some kind of like, this happens all the time. When once you get far enough in modded Minecraft, you're not really even needing to walk. You can do things like transporting all around, similar to Doctor Strange here. And it's like when you're watching somebody who's been playing for like years, and they're on like Twitch or something, and just they're doing something like that, and to the unobserved viewer, they're like, "What is going on? This guy's just moving all over the place." But to people that are used to it, they're like, "Oh, well, why would he walk? He's got a thing to just right click, and suddenly he's over there now." Like,
it's funny that this is the kind of thing where that question, or not the question, but the idea of using your powers and abusing your powers, and this is almost like that fine line. He's not like abusing it, right? But he's using it very appropriately, which I feel like we wouldn't normally see from a lot of the other superheroes, because they just use their powers or their tactics and abilities in like the heat of battle kind of thing, right? But this is just, he's just trying to find a solution at home
quickly.
And this is how he does it. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, needs hair, just instantly grabs it from Thor. Just like, I just like transporting, and Thor always hitting the bookshelf. Like every time hitting the bookshelf, just like 3 times hitting it in the background. It's just such a good effect.
And then falling down the stairs just out of nowhere.
After he gets the strand of hair, he essentially creates a portal to go to Norway, where this is where Odin apparently is. And Thor does the hammer trick where he hammer time, and it's time for the hammer to come to his hand, and it crashes through a bunch of Stephen Strange's stuff. which Stephen Strange seems annoyed about, but not like overly distraught about. I'm assuming he'll find a way to fix it, maybe using the Eye of Agamotto and just
yeah, exactly. Just flow back, like return time, turn back time. If I could
turn back time.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then Loki appears.
Oh, that's
and
such a good
falling
line.
for 30 minutes.
I laughed very hard in the theater at that line, and I still laugh today. That line is delivered well and it's written well. It's great.
Me too. I think it's just like the concept of falling for 30 minutes.
I love the fact that he escalates in his line of dialogue. I have been falling for.
Yeah, it's really well done for sure.
Yeah, because you even the idea of someone falling for 30 minutes is also insane. Like I couldn't imagine. I think about it every time. I'm like, could you imagine just falling, constantly falling, eventually getting bored of falling? Like,
do you get tired of it, or does it hurt like more as you fall? Like, because I mean, gravity should be pulling you down more.
No,
like,
eventually you hit your free fall, right? So eventually,
that's right.
You just hit your speed. I can't remember what that's called. Mach speed, free fall speed. I can't remember what it is, but eventually where you hit that one note, you just stay there, right? So you just get bored. It eventually wouldn't even feel like you're falling anymore, I bet.
But do they? You know, I'm wondering. Okay, the free fall, is that based on? That's based on just the parameters of like being on Earth, right? And like within Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, good point. If he's in a different dimension, what's gravity? What's what is all that?
And what's 30 minutes? I mean, like, I don't know how long it takes to fall from the highest you could go bungee jump or parachuting from or skydiving from. But I can't imagine you'd be falling for 30 minutes. I feel like it's like a 5 or 10 minute thing, and then you gotta throw your parachute open and you're gonna die. But yeah.
Okay, well, Doctor Strange then just sends them both through the portal. He says, "All right, that's enough." And he moves the portal through them. I love that.
Yeah.
Just so quick.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, I like him more and more the more I see him on screen. Like the fact that he's only had one movie and we feel like we know him so much. It's a testament to Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he does a really good job as Doctor Strange. But I love this character because a lot of his decisions are decisions I feel like I would be making. Like he's just really trying to rush it and get out of there. Like he has bigger fish to fry at that moment.
And I like that this is also a little bit of a tease for anybody who would have already questioned it. I assume people would have, like the way that Loki brought it up. Like, what are you, some kind of sorcerer, or like I'll show you what a real sorcerer.
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
Right?
You think you're some kind of sorcerer.
Yeah. And so I feel like if that's probably a question that's been posed by a lot of people, like, oh, who would win? Who is a better sorcerer?
Right.
Who's better with magic between the two of them?
Yeah.
And I can see that as Taika Waititi or whoever the writer just going like, oh yeah, people probably want to think about this. Well, too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to show you the answer because it's not necessary.
But with one line of dialogue, at least appeasing some fans, though. So Thor and Loki head into Norway, and they see Odin immediately over at the cliffs of like Moher or something. I don't know. They're in Norway, so not Moher. That's Ireland. They're like somewhere off in the cliffs of Norway.
The cliffs of Norway, yeah.
And they essentially have this little heartfelt scene with their father, who explains to them that Asgard is not a place, it's a people, which becomes the theme of the movie. And it's an interesting theme because I disagree, but it's but whatever. The movie can do whatever it wants to do, obviously, and it's not handled horribly in any way, shape, or form. But this is kind of his last words to his sons: is that Asgard is a place, not a people. Is a people, not a place. I get that mixed up every time. And so that's really what he explains, and he says this could be Asgard, and he's just kind of like pointing out to the cliffs in Norway, and then he slowly but surely just passes away in front of them.
He becomes one with the Force.
Exactly. And he does his little meditation, and he's gone. As this happens, he also kind of briefly just kind of warns them about their sister, Hela, and how as soon as he dies, she's now not banished to hell, and she's able to escape and then come and get them. Which is very interesting, very convenient, very strange that this is the first time he mentions it, and it just sort of happens out of nowhere. And then he dies. Peace out. Bye, guys. Yeah. And they're kind of left there like, our dad is dead. We apparently have a sister, and she's going to destroy Asgard.
And Ragnarok is coming.
Yeah, there's just so much happening at this moment. And our heroes, instead of contemplating any of those things, they just start fighting each other. They're mad at each other and start arguing right away. Thor starts blaming Loki, saying this is his fault, even though really don't know whose fault it is. Loki doesn't really have much to say, and out of nowhere, introduce Galadriel. She comes in, and she
Galadriel?
Yeah, well, it's Kate Blanchett, so
two
Lord of the Rings characters in one movie.
That's right.
That's how you get me on board, man.
The scene, I don't know why it reminded me, or it kind of reminds me of Power Rangers. Just the way that Thor and Loki transformed into like the Red and Green Ranger, the ones that are kind of like always they're like the rivals, and then all of a sudden Rita Repulsa shows up.
Yes, exactly, very similar. She comes in, hello boys, but no, I don't even know what she says, but something similar to that. And then Thor's all just like, Thor says something, and she's just like, you look like father. And then Loki's all like, I'm sure we can work this out. And she's like, you sound like him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're both like, oh, Hela, you look like father.
I'll briefly mention this here. I'll try not to talk about the Norse stuff too much, but Hela is supposed to be Hel, and she's supposed to be Loki's daughter in Norse mythology.
Yeah. Right.
There's a bunch of things that they actually did do. They didn't do the Midgard serpent here in Ragnarok, which is supposed to take place in Ragnarok. They did do Fenrir's wolf, though, which we'll get to. And Fenrir's wolf is another child of Loki. And it's supposed to be Loki who brings upon Ragnarok, which is funny because in this movie, Loki still does bring upon Ragnarok, just not in the same sense he was supposed to. But right. So we have almost all the right Norse mythology elements here at play, but just not... They're done in a Marvel way, and they're also done with the Marvel storylines, with where Loki and Thor are brothers instead of Loki and Odin being brothers. So
I thought there was some sort of line where they mentioned the serpent or the snake. I can't remember when it was mentioned, and I think it was this movie, but I just it sounded to me like it was just a passing over line.
I think there was a passing over line, because I remember in the theater waiting, because I thought the serpent was going to make an appearance. And actually, at the very beginning of the movie, when he was fighting Surtur and the dragon came out, I thought that was going to be the Midgard serpent, but it wasn't. And I thought maybe it was a placeholder or something. I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Anyways, so there are like a few different like Titan-like elements that are supposed to come up to destroy Olympia, or you know, the very like the Hercules kind of destroying Olympia with the Titans. But this is supposed to be like the Norse creatures of Loki, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's okay that they don't stick to the Norse mythology.
Oh, for sure.
Because if they did, I feel like it would be a little bit too complicated to have all of that work with what the MCU exists, or what Marvel has already.
I do think it'd be fun if Loki brought upon Ragnarok the way he does in Norse mythology, but they don't necessarily have to make Loki's children the same as they are in Norse mythology. But I think it is interesting that Hel would have been a daughter of Loki, something that he had to get banished to Hel, and then she's come back, and that's his hatred for Odin. And it becomes this interesting kind of storyline, and it would have been a little fun at least. But regardless, it's not done horribly. I just want to make a note of it. So she appears, and she ends up essentially just destroying Mjolnir immediately.
Is that the like the Swedish way to pronounce it?
Yeah, that's the Canadian Norway version of how you pronounce Mjolnir.
Oh, okay. Mjolnir.
Thor throws.
I'd still call it Meow Meow.
Meow Meow. Thor throws Meow Meow at Hela, and she immediately destroys it with like her hand. Just crushes it.
Yeah.
Which shows you the power of her, and everyone gets shocked in belief. And then before they can fight, Loki immediately says Heimdall, and he like or whatever, and whatever Scourge's neighbor is, whatever, and wants the Bifrost to
Carl
take them.
Urban.
Exactly.
Send
Carl
the Bifrost.
And the Bifrost shoots them back up. Thor's all like, no, Loki, but they go back anyways. But surprisingly to everybody all involved, Hela joins them through the Bifrost, so they actually made a grave mistake.
Yes.
And it's actually a fairly tense scene where Thor and Loki kind of battle Hela a little bit in the Bifrost, and then they get separated, and Thor goes his own way, Loki goes his own way, and Hela shoots up her way into Asgard.
I like the animation here. Like, obviously it all has to be CGI, but I think they did a good job of making her look really threatening, you know, coming up from behind, and for some reason she's going faster than the other two.
Yeah, I agree.
And the way that she can just so easily... She catches the knife in one motion, just throws it back.
Yeah.
Or the dagger, like right back at Loki, right? And then in that hand-to-hand combat with Thor. And something about it, just it makes her look very, very threatening, very menacing, very powerful. And then at the same time, it makes you wonder, like, how the heck are they ever going to be able to do anything about her later on?
Yeah, the movie does a really good job making her threatening throughout the whole film. She always feels threatening, which is good.
Yeah.
So after that, Hela immediately comes to the Bifrost. She kills Thor's old companions, and which they get like a scene, then they're stabbed immediately. And she recruits Scourge like right away, and he was supposed to just be a humble little janitor, and now he's working his way up to being her executioner. So that's a pretty good promotion in one day.
Yeah, good promotion. Yeah, good for him.
And she explains that she's about to overthrow Asgard. They have a little moment where they stare off at Asgard in the distance, and then boom! That's my end of Act 1.
Boom. Okay. You know what's funny? I wasn't actually sure where to put all of my act placements, because I found that this movie, I felt like they were, how would I say it? So, where you would normally see some sort of like shift in what the character is up to, I think they did show that, but for me, it wasn't the same kind of clear-cut way. So, for example, yeah, I was debating whether to start my Act 2 here because of where Thor ended up, but I ended up, where did I put it? A little bit later, I guess shortly after he appears on Sakaar.
Okay.
But I think either way, I think this is a fine place to. We'll go with yours.
Okay.
Because yours probably makes more sense.
So I see what you're explaining, and I thought the exact same thing. The movie seemed to me like it's the whole beginning, and then he goes to Sakaar, and then he comes back to Asgard, and there's your 1, 2, 3. That's how I saw it when I first watched it. But then when I was rethinking it later, I was like, well, maybe the Act 2 kind of comes in a little bit later, or the Act 3 comes in a little bit earlier. Because if you look at the timestamps of these kinds of things, Act 1 would be quite short, Act 2 would be very long, and then Act 3 is quite short. But
yeah.
I stand by the original thought now, thinking that it just feels like 3 separate films when you break it down into these 3 acts. When he enters Sakaar, it's a very different experience to when he's over at Asgard, and I can't really justify keeping them all in the same act. So
yeah, okay, that's fair.
But it's all good. We'll go with this one for now. But I do agree with you. It's a little bit hazy. It wasn't totally clear. But I thought about it.
Which I don't know if it probably doesn't have to be.
No, it definitely doesn't have to be.
Guess, but
somebody who's smarter than us can break it down.
Podcasters like us, it must be, because otherwise this podcast wouldn't work.
True. Okay, well, for Act 2, I named it Planet Hulk.
Ooh. I called mine Winning.
Yes! Okay.
Yeah, simple. That's it.
All right, well, in this scene, I'll play Hulk, you play Thor.
Hulk, always angry.
I know. We're the same, you and I. Just a couple of hot-headed fools.
Yeah, same. Hulk like fire, Thor like water.
Well, we're kind of both like fire.
But Hulk like real fire, like raging fire. Thor like smoldering fire.
Is that what he says? Smoldering? Okay.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. See, Hulk's actually built a vocabulary. He's actually doing quite well.
Yeah, he's like he's kind of reaching into like the Bruce vocabulary somehow.
True. Exactly. This is good, Mark Ruffalo. I make fun of him a lot, and I don't like him all that much. So I have a bit of a bias, but he's not bad as Hulk at all. He's a good Hulk. I just don't like his Bruce Banner. At all.
I find that his banner here is so different from the other ones too, and part of it is
because... This is the transition to the bad Banner, in my opinion. This movie is where it starts to really transition to bad Banner.
Oh. Bruce the Bad Banner. So his voice is, like, when he's as Bruce, his voice is so much higher pitched than what he normally has, because he's usually got like a lower kind of raspy voice where he's not like he's not a very loud, outspoken kind of person. But in this one, I guess they're trying, because like he has so many lines as the Hulk where it's still voiced by him, but trying to transcode it enough to be a little bit lower, I guess. I didn't really look into it, but yeah, because of that, I'm assuming that they wanted Mark Ruffalo to have a higher pitch as Bruce Banner, just to contrast more, to make him seem more human versus, you know what I mean, like separating the human versus the Hulk.
Right. This is my opinion, and I don't want it to sound too harsh, but Mark Ruffalo sounds like he's playing Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner.
Okay.
Like, it's a far stretch from in the first Avengers, and I'll give him credit here, when he has the line where he says he tried when he's talking about killing himself. He says, I tried, I shot, or he's like, I put a bullet in me and the other guy spat it out.
Right.
And like, that line was really well written and also well delivered, the way he says it. But the way he's saying that line, the way he's got this intensity, this like ferocity to the Bruce Banner aspect,
with a mixture of like
totally
fear.
Gone. Yeah, and fear as well.
Yeah.
And anxiety. He's even got that in Age of Ultron. He's got this anxiety when he's talking to Tony all the time. He's not quite sure if they're making the right choices and stuff, but he's still got this serious tone to his voice. Mm-hmm. In this one, Thor Ragnarok, he's a bumbling idiot, just like, and he sounds like a bumbling idiot. What he's saying might not be dumb, but the way he's saying it sounds dumb. And it sounds like Mark Ruffalo is reading it off of a page, not Bruce Banner is just expressing these thoughts.
Yeah. He does sound a little bit less composed than what his character normally is. I mean, you could maybe justify it by saying that because he's been the Hulk for, what was it, like 2 or 3 years? Something like that. Like a pretty generously long time, that in that span of time, not being Bruce, not having his own mental capacity to practice with, that he I guess for some reason comes out a little bit rusty and a little bit just, I don't know, still Hulkified-ish in a way.
Maybe. I think we saw little notes of this starting to happen though in Age of Ultron too. Remember we talked about that horrible scene between him and Black Widow when he's like, oh, what's a dame like you doing in a place like this? She's like, oh, a fella done me wrong. And we're just like, what is this scene? Anyways, moving back into Act 2 here. Thor lands on Sakaar, the junk planet. And he immediately is getting captured by pirates right away, pretty much. He doesn't know where he is. There's all these wormholes everywhere, all this junk everywhere. And he's got this weird music playing.
Yeah.
And junk pirates come and they throw some weird electrical fishing net on him.
Yep.
And then he's immediately rescued by Valkyrie, who comes in. This is the introduction to the character Valkyrie, who is one of the Valkyries from Asgard from the past, who used to fight Hela, or tried to fight back Hela, I guess.
Yeah.
She has a spaceship, and she uses her hands to operate a spaceship. I really don't like this scene where she moves her hands and does this weird CGI motion, and the ship copies her. But it looks, if you just watch her and don't watch the ship, it looks like an actress and a green screen, and it looks very odd because she's going woo.
Yeah.
It looks so dumb.
Yeah, for somebody who she's obviously a professional at what she does. She doesn't need to show off to herself or test it out to know that it works, right?
It's a trailer shot. It is not a realistic shot in any way, shape, or form. It is made for a trailer or for an action figure, but it is not made for realism at all.
Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah. Anyways, regardless, that was one small scene. She drinks. I like her introduction. She drinks a bottle and then passes out.
Falls off her old little bridge.
I thought that was pretty funny. She fights the pirates and takes Thor pretty much as her own right away. And she wants this bounty because she is actually Scrapper, I don't know, 14267 or something. I wonder if I got that right, because that's a complete guess. And
I feel like that sounds closer to Finn in Star Wars.
Yeah, probably.
FN 14267.
142. What? I'm gonna call you Finn.
Yeah.
Anyways, so she then captures Thor and throws Thor into her ship as her captive. Back on Asgard. Unless you have anything to say about that scene.
I think Tessa Thompson, I think she did do a good job with this character. I didn't like what I saw of the character in the first couple scenes, so that's, nothing really much to talk about. Later on we see more of her, which is great, but after that, actually I did want to mention, just before heading off back to Asgard, so there's kind of a teaser, and it's I had to look it up because I could only recognize one of the faces, but the Grandmaster's Empire State Building, whatever it's called.
Right, the building where they're building all the faces onto Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Grand Mast Shore. So
never mind. Just go.
No, we gotta stop. So there's 4 or 5 faces. I think you can only see 4. Later on, you see a 5th one, and
Hulk.
then the 6th one that they're being built is Hulk. But
oh, sorry.
So one of the ones that I recognized right away was Beta Ray Bill, who
from the Thor series, of course.
Yeah, he's from the Thor series, and who has an outfit in the comics. He has an outfit just like Thor's, and I think at one point he also wields Mjolnir. If not, he has his own. I think he also holds Stormbreaker, or whatever. He has his own kind of weapon set.
He's essentially like the Captain Falcon in the Thor universe. He's like an extra backup for Thor if he can, or if he wants to be.
Oh, is that? I wasn't really sure how the character works. I just assumed he was kind of just as strong as Thor.
I think he plays a villain for a lot of it, but he also plays a character who could take on the responsibilities of being Thor if Thor was to fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Beta Ray Bill is there, so that's a teaser. And then I looked at the rest. So the other faces for anybody who's interested in looking up these characters, and I think they are all from either of the Thor or Hulk series, comic series or universe series. There's Man-Thing, there's Beast, there's Ares, there's Fin Fang Foom, and then there's so Fin Fang Foom. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's that's the dragon where Iron Fist gets his powers from.
Okay. No, I wasn't familiar with that. No.
And then the last one, which I think you get a better glimpse of later, he's the Nightcrawler, and not the same Nightcrawler that we get from the X-Men series, but different kind of Nightcrawler who I think is supposed to be one of the Hulk's biggest villains or something like that. Or yeah,
interesting.
So I think they're just kind of trying to obviously bring about this is the place where these really really big kind of amazing brawling fighters have been.
Right.
And I think it's supposed to kind of give you a little bit of a foreshadowing of who else we would see. I mean, did we see? Yeah, we saw this in the trailer. So I guess, but for those who didn't, then this would be a little like, oh, heads up, there's some big, like, not just like big names, but like big characters in this place, and so that's where we're bound to see the Hulk.
If you had never seen the trailer and you were very eagle-eyed, you might be thinking you're going to see one of those characters in the arena, which would be actually pretty exciting to anybody who was a fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't catch any though, so good call. I didn't notice. I thought they were just heads put there to build a story, I guess.
one was George Washington.
Yeah.
One was Barack Obama. Joan of Arc.
My fellow Americans.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, on Asgard, the captain of the Asgard, get it? I don't know. He's got a real name, but I had no idea what it was, so I wrote the captain of the Asgard. Fights off Hela's attacks.
Hogan? Isn't this Hogan?
It might be Hogan.
Yeah, this is Hogan. Yeah.
Who's Hogan?
Hogan is the Japanese guy. Hogun. Is that who you're talking about when we're back on Asgard? The captain?
Yeah. Yeah, but Japanese guy from what?
From the previous Thor movies.
What? No way. That's the same guy? It didn't even look like him.
Is it not? Oh, maybe it's a different. Is it a different
Dude,
actor?
I think this is a different guy.
Oh, it must be a different. No, but I'm pretty sure it's Hogan.
No, man, no. It's not. It can't be.
Yeah, man, yeah.
No, man, no.
Thor Ragnarok. Hogan. Actor. Tadanobu Asano. No, wait, that's not the. Is that the actor? That sounds like the.
Yeah, man, it's not him.
Is it not? Who is it?
It's not him. I'm getting Hulk Hogan, which is kind of funny.
Hogun.
Oh my god, maybe you're right. No freaking way.
Yeah, it is. It is him.
You're totally right.
He's in all of them.
Dude, I had no idea. Okay, wow, I stand corrected. It is one of the Warriors 3. I had no idea. That actually makes that scene so much better because I had no idea who this guy was. But you know what's funny? I kept thinking, like, whoever this guy is, like, we don't see much of him, but you feel like you know him. Like, that was going to be my note. Is that he's like I feel like we've got this whole backstory with this guy, even though we don't really know him. But you know, like, what he's got honor, he's got respect, he actually cares about Asgard, like all these cool things. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's sad to see him die. Pretty much, Hela like takes out everybody, the whole guard. She takes out like every single guy here, every soldier, really, really easily.
Also, how she kills them too, especially Hogan.
It's brutal.
Like, wow,
it's just all
it is
stabbing.
brutal.
It's just so many stabs.
Yeah,
like,
and specifically the way that like Hogan gets killed, like with that really big one, and then his body just gets like ugh.
Yeah.
Which is like I wouldn't have expected that from an MCU movie, but I guess it's not as bad only because there isn't any blood and it's kind of quick. But at the same time, it's just like wow, they really. Like for me, it's visceral without being visceral.
Yeah, I agree. I actually found it quite visceral when I was watching it here, and I wasn't expecting it to be that way at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, holy, this is pretty intense.
Yeah.
After we see her destroy this army really, really quickly, again, she comes off as a badass pretty quickly because she's able to do all this. She walks into the throne room with Scourge, and she explains her backstory a little bit about how her and Odin used to fight battles together. She was kind of Odin's right-hand man. She was also known as Odin's executioner. Hulk Hogan. Oh god. Never mind. Anyways, so she becomes Odin's executioner during all this, and she breaks down the mural in the top of the throne room to show kind of the backstory that was there, and everything else was like a mask put in front of it to pretend that this backstory never existed, almost as if this movie pulled this backstory out of nowhere. And so. Then, as she explains this, she also explains to Scourge that she's going to need an executioner, and there, lo and behold, is his promotion. So good job, Scourge. Des and Troy are going to be being put to good use.
Troy and Des.
Troy Des.
Troy Des.
Anyways, so then Hela goes to the trophy room, my god, in Asgard, and she starts to take note of all the things that are in the trophy room. She notices Thanos' glove, which she says is a fake. She notices the Eternal Flame, she notices the Infinity Stone, and she notices Surtur's crown. And she mentions his little lines on each of these things. And she says, like, oh, thought it'd be bigger to the crown. She says fake to the hand. She says, that's interesting to the stone.
Yeah.
And then to the Eternal Flame, she takes the Eternal Flame and she throws it down to a pit, which is a mausoleum that holds the undead army, and that's where we get to meet Fenrir's wolf.
Yeah.
Fenrir.
Except I think the wolf has a different name in this movie, doesn't it?
I thought I saw it came up as Fenrir's wolf on the wiki for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the wiki has been off before, so I don't actually know.
Wolf name.
But I gotta say though, as like a Norse mythology fan, it is so cool to see Fenrir's wolf, and man, he looks cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, they just call him Fenrir. Fenrir, although it's spelled Fenris, but Fenrir is how you pronounce it.
I wonder if could Fenris be the MCU name, and Fenrir is actually just the Norse mythology name and spelling?
Oh, did she call it Fenris in the movie?
Because I feel like she didn't actually say Fenrir, but
I didn't hear her name it once.
She
so
said
I'm
it.
Not sure.
She said it just as she saw the wolf, like Fenrir.
Oh, okay.
And noticed.
She might have called it Fenris. I'm not sure.
Wait, where is this at? Oh, this is a little bit later. Oh, there we go. Found
Yeah.
it.
But
She
man,
said, "Oh, what have they done to you?"
yeah. Oh man, it is really, really cool though seeing the wolf. Really like interesting looking wolf. They did a good job with the CGI on it. It looks really real and like big. It's cool. It's menacing.
Yeah.
I really want it to be like a good character so that like Thor could like ride the wolf or something cool like that. But
Yeah.
it's just so cool looking. Anyway, so then
Well, it's okay. Thor gets to ride his hammer.
That's so true. He gets to ride his hammer. You're right. He has a very intimate relationship with that hammer.
And okay, I just turned on my subtitles, so yeah, she calls the wolf Fenris.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Fenrir is the name in Norse mythology, and Fenrir's wolf is how it's like commonly named.
Yeah.
Called.
Name called.
So, anyways, Fenris makes sense. Also, like her name in Norse mythology is Hel, not Hela. So yeah, there's a lot of different things there. So I might mispronounce some of this stuff. After all of this, we go back to Sakaar. No, sorry. Heimdall quickly steals the sword of the Bifrost, and we notice that Heimdall is Heimdall. Heimdall's in hiding with Heimdall. He's got his own little like sitcom going on, you know, hiding with Heimdall. And
he's got this nice kind of smolder where his eyes. Like,
hey, Idris
brighten
Elba
up.
plays Heimdall. And back on Sakaar, Thor is introduced to the Grand Master. You're going to meet the Grand Master.
Oh man,
I really
remind
love
me
that scene.
this whole roller coaster thing reminds me of like what is it, Space Mountain or something like that.
Oh, I know. But they even got the Willy Wonka song playing. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh.
It's just so funny. Like,
What a good
I love how he's
choice.
just sitting there and like is explaining all the backstory of the Grand Master. He's got this funky music. He's got like this James Bond little swing in the stars. And,
Yeah.
like, but then just how she gets so excited. You're going to meet the Grand Master. And he's just like, ah! He's freaking out. Oh, I was laughing so hard at that scene. I love it. I keep using that line now since I've watched this movie recently. I've used that line a few times.
That you're
just
going
out
to
of
meet the
nowhere.
Grandmaster.
Yeah, when I'm like trying to make something that's not exciting more exciting, I'm like, you're going to meet the Grand Master. Anyways,
Oh boy. Okay.
Thor is immediately introduced to the Grand Master at this moment. He also has a quick reuniting kind of moment with Loki, because funny enough, Loki also is on this planet for some reason.
Somehow, I guess it makes sense. I was thinking like anybody who gets out of the Bifrost just like, lands in the junk planet. I assume that's the case.
This planet is the Tatooine of the Marvel universe. It's just where everybody
just
ends
ends
up
up
going
there.
for
Yeah.
some reason. Like,
Yeah, it just has like the largest gravity. It's
Exactly.
like the biggest
And
planet,
this-
so people just get
and this-
attracted to it.
this Grandmaster like Citadel place is the Mos Eisley of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So it's just like where all the baddest of the bad all meet up.
Yeah.
So Loki just happened to gravitate, I guess, towards it. Yes, and he reunites with Loki a little bit, and Loki pretends that he doesn't know him. I've never seen this man in my life.
Right.
The Grandmaster's like, do you two know each other? Like, so he's my brother, adopted stepbrother.
Yeah.
The Grandmaster proceeds to call Thor the Asgardian, and
Oh yeah.
and Sparkles.
Sparkles. Yeah,
Sparkles.
that's the one. Sparkles.
This is
I'll call
pretty
you
much
Sparkles.
Jeff Goldblum just being Jeff Goldblum, and
Yeah.
it works very, very well.
It's perfect. Yeah.
He is really good as a Grandmaster because you don't know who the Grandmaster is. You don't really need to know.
No.
He's just very funny.
Yeah.
His subtleties are great. Just snapping suddenly, just randomly snapping. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't help but think of him back in Friends when he's teaching Joey.
Oh, Joey.
Trying to do that audition with Joey.
Yeah.
And Joey has to pee, and then Jeff Goldblum's all like, "This whole thing you're doing, this whole like jittery thing you got with your character, yeah, I'm loving it, you know."
Boy.
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and then I think shortly after that, we get introduced to Korg. And
Yes, this is where we get to meet Korg in the fighting pits.
Korg, and what's the worm's name? Totally forgot the worm's name.
I can't remember. I didn't write it down.
Probably that's okay. That's fine. Korg,
It's all good.
Korg and worm thing.
Yeah.
And
so
yeah,
Thor's
voiced by
introduced
Taika
Korg, yeah.
Waititi.
Exactly, and he does a really good job. This character we don't get many lines with, and he's hilarious, like, right away.
See you later,
Mike.
Doug.
Mike is the other
Oh,
guy.
Mike. Mike is
Yeah.
the... Yeah, okay.
Mike.
Cool.
Yeah, so, new Doug.
I didn't print enough pamphlets.
Yeah. That's
and
exactly
only
what Doug
my-
used to say.
Yeah. See you later, new Doug.
Yeah, really funny scene. I really like that. Just quick little scenes with him and Korg. And Korg's just a hilarious character that really breaks up the tension a bit, and explains a bit of like Thor tries to run away from the scene, and the camera smartly just stays with Korg.
It's just
and Thor
Korg,
comes
yeah.
back in the scene, and Korg. I don't know if you'd be interested in something like that. Do you think you'd be interested in something like that?
Yeah.
Like, Thor's all like, "Where are we?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, this whole place is a circle." Like,
It's a freaking little circle.
it's a freaky little thing.
Yeah.
So well done. Like,
Yeah.
you never see any of the jokes coming. They just like they just fly
it's
off the
just
page, and they're
there.
just so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very well done scene. Anyways, we are now greeted with the big scene of the movie where Thor fights the Grandmasters champion, which lo and behold is the Incredible Hulk, and they battle in their Avengers-like way.
Oh,
Apparently
we missed the Stanley cameo before
Oh,
the
you're
fight.
right.
He gets a haircut by
Yeah.
Stanley.
You're right.
Yeah, he's got
And
this
also Stanley
giant-
seems to cut into his head a little bit accidentally.
Yeah,
It's weird. I didn't ever notice that until this time, that he's got little slashes in his head.
I think it's made to look like lightning or something.
That's the
I'm
thing.
not
My
too
fiance said on purpose, and I said, "Oh, it looks like Stanley like screwed up when he was cutting his hair." And she's like, "No, on purpose. It's supposed to be thunderbolts." But then I was like, "I don't know. They don't seem to line up very well on each side of his head. Like they seem off." So
Yeah.
I still think it's incorrect how he cut his hair and he accidentally slashed into his head. I think that's what they were trying to imply, but I don't actually know.
I think. Well, I think that is. I think it's a bit of both. I think they're just trying to make it look like, oh, it's a really crappy haircut, and at the same time, let's make it seem like it could be a thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, really,
I guess-
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just not sure what they were going for.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Thor is greeted by the Hulk, and this line where he says he's a friend from work, and he's all
Yeah.
excited to see the Hulk. That was apparently a line that was given to them by a Make-A-Wish Foundation child who was able to see a pre-screening of the film.
Oh,
and was able to see
what?
some of the stuff, and the kids said, "Oh, he should say that's a friend from work." And apparently they loved it so much they
Wow.
actually refilmed that introduction and had him say that instead.
What a smart kid.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that was a kid's idea. I don't have the reference to the kid or anything like that, but yeah, apparently that was redone afterwards to make that line better. And yeah, it's really funny. I do like that Thor's just excited to see him, but it does get a little jokey, a little too jokey. Like Thor should be well aware of, like he's got this battle lust. He should be well aware of the fact that he's about to fight, and he does get into that zone for sure. It's just. He does it so late in a very, like, when they make him dumb Thor, like, too dumb Thor, he just keeps explaining to him, "Oh, Banner, like, you should have been there." It was like that, and he's doing it for too long, while Thor, like, Hulk is definitely going to fight. He doesn't look at all like he's listening or in any way, shape, or form. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's definitely funny, don't get me wrong. It's just slightly played out, I think, but it's definitely funny.
I do like the moment though when what is it? Does it happen like right before they actually fight? When he starts doing that
The sun's getting real
the
low.
sun's getting real low, big guy. Yeah. and
Yeah,
then
no,
goes up
it's
to him
at the
and
very beginning. First, Hulk starts fighting him, and then he's instantly just like he doesn't want to fight him, so he's like, "I'm not your enemy, Banner."
Yeah.
He's like, "Sun's getting real low, big guy."
And then there's that one moment where like it kind of goes back from like face to face to like their hands touching, and then back
Yeah.
to Thor's face, and he's got this like really like it's a really really cheesy looking kind of like baby rabbit smile kind of thing, and it's just
Yeah.
like, but it looks so funny seeing seeing Chris Hemsworth with that face, like this big macho guy with all this armor and stuff, and it's just like
Yeah.
the fuzziest kind of smile you could think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just gets tossed around.
Yeah.
The battle's pretty good. I gotta say, when I saw this in theaters, I had no idea who was gonna win, so that was fun and exciting. It does seem like Thor wins. I don't know if that's because it's Thor's movie, but Thor seems to win this battle because he got to be Mr. Sparkles a little bit there. Mr. Sparkle.
And it's hard to say, like, I think the reason why they wouldn't show a winner is because I don't think you could necessarily, like, it would be hard to actually pinpoint what would happen in the end, right? Knowing how, like, with Hulk, like, how he gets his power, like, his strength comes from his anger, right? Which is, his anger is supposed to be endless, so that means, like, his strength could be endless, right? But, so
I think you could hit Hulk hard enough to turn him back into Banner, though. I guess
that,
could
yeah.
get- yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can kill. Well, I guess you can't kill Banner. I don't know. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But
So
I
that's
feel
the
like
thing.
this-
That's exactly why they couldn't really give like a definitive answer, right? They had to
Yeah.
like find a way to cut it short. And I guess it makes sense. Like it's fine that that the Grandmaster is the one who cuts it short. I guess I was expecting something else to kind of happen, or something a little bit more meaningful to stop their fight. But
I figured like a tag team, and then they then fight out their way out of the arena. Like Grandmaster starts sending minions to fight them, and they start fighting the minions, something like that, and then they break out. But no, the Grandmaster cheats, and then Hulk falls down flat on his face.
Yeah.
But Hulk pretty much won. Sorry, Thor. I meant Thor pretty much won before that. It seemed like. But anyways, doesn't matter. Thor wakes up in Hulk's chambers, and Thor and Hulk proceed to have a few conversations about who's the worst Avenger.
Oh, yeah.
Who does Earth hate, and all these kinds of things. They're trying to relate to each other. Thor makes a funny joke where he says that he likes Hulk. He doesn't even like Banner, and he thinks that Hulk is the best guy.
Yeah.
Because he fights and all that. And they seem to relate a little bit. It gets pretty interesting watching them talk. I don't know. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not exactly the buddy road cop kind of banter you want to have, but it's not horrible either. So it's somewhere in the middle, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to have anything very stimulating, and I'm okay with that because of what the Hulk's character is supposed to be like. And and it's funny watching it because the way they make him move around, it's almost like he's literally like a big baby.
Yeah, he's a toddler.
He doesn't act like a big macho buffoon kind of guy. He acts like a baby, like the way he stomp around, and then while they're riffing about something, and then Hulk kind of just he pounds the air as that little weird shrug kind of thing, and it's just that's his anger.
Exactly.
So I'm okay with what their interactions are. I wouldn't have expected it to be anything too deep or meaningful. Just enough for him to for the characters to gain some more information about what's happening and make some progress.
For sure.
I also wanted to mention for their fight, I think this is also meant to be maybe not a tease, but I guess a reference to World War Hulk. When Hulk comes out, so World War Hulk is also a comic on its own, or an arc from the Hulk series, and so World War Hulk he pretty much wears all that kind of armor, the war paint, and he's basically this more of a barbarian kind of looking character. So I think that's what they were going for with this, that they wanted to reference that version of the Hulk rather than just we have the regular Hulk all the time, now that he's in this different planet. I think people were actually suspecting or theorizing that they were going to he was going to actually be this the World War Hulk, or I think he might even have a different name, but anyway, this kind of appeases people to say oh cool, we got to see this version of the Hulk.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people talk about how that could never happen, but they actually found a way to incorporate World War Hulk into the whole Marvel Cinematic storyline, so that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in this line of dialogue, when Thor and Hulk are talking, Thor then realizes that Hulk came here using the Quinjet from Age of Ultron. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Or Civil War? No, I'm sorry, Age of Ultron. He used the Quinjet to end up going to this... It was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was not. Yeah. They weren't. They were both not in Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah, and using the Quinjet, he ended up going off to Sakaar. It's where the jet, I guess, landed him. Mm-hmm. So he points out the Quinjet, and then after this, Hulk ends up helping Thor escape by stealing the little device from Valkyrie, who seems to be friends with Hulk, and breaking out of the glass.
Yeah.
with a funny moment where Thor decides to throw the ball to break the glass, and bounces off and smacks him in the head.
And then he does that whole get up and pretending he was just fighting or something. Yeah. Oh boy.
That's good. I was expecting it. It's funny. So Thor then moves off to go to the Quinjet, but when he gets into the Quinjet, he can't activate the voice control thing. He keeps trying to say
strongest Avenger.
Earth's strongest Avenger. It doesn't work. I love how he does know it's Point Break. He's like, damn you, Stark, Point Break.
What's that a reference to?
So that's a reference to in the first Avengers when Stark slaps his muscles, and he goes easy there, Point Break, and he hits him on the arm.
Well, what does Point Break mean?
So Point Break, I believe, is an old 80s movie.
Oh, okay.
Give me a sec here. I want to make sure I got the right reference before I start talking out of my butt here.
No, you totally should talk out of your butt.
I figured it out. So Point Break is Kurt Russell and, what's his name? Keanu Reeves. I'm sorry, Kurt Russell. My God. I meant Patrick Swayze. That's what I meant. Okay. And Keanu Reeves. Okay. And Patrick Swayze's got this long blonde hair, and the two of them, it's like a bro movie, and it's actually pretty much the storyline to Fast and the Furious. Fast and Furious was almost a remake of Point Break, but it was done with cars. And in Point Break, they were just agents. So it was an FBI agent goes undercover to catch a gang of surfers who may be bank robbers. So he has to pretend to be a server with them. Anyways, the reason why he calls him that is because he looks like I keep wanting to say Kurt Russell, Patrick Swayze.
I see why you get them mixed up though.
Yeah, I don't know why I always
Kurt
get them mixed
Swayze.
up. Yeah. Anyways, so it's a reference to the first Avengers movie, which I think is kind of cool.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense.
Regardless, so Thor eventually gets in there by saying Point Break. He activates a transmission from Black Widow, who starts telling Hulk that he should return home. Then we didn't realize this, but Hulk actually followed Thor down here, and he sees the transmission, and then immediately turns into Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, the transformation. What do you think of it?
I don't remember. Oh, right, and he starts yelling as his face is I don't know. I didn't think it was horrible, but I didn't think it was great. It was somewhere in between, probably.
Okay, yeah. It's not just his face, but his whole body. It kind of just it's like a blob, or it's like flubber. It kind of goes in from it rapidly decreases into his body and then back into the Hulk. So you can see that there's that struggle where he's trying to maintain the form. But I thought it actually looked pretty cool. It was, I think, because anytime we see the Hulk, I've always really appreciated how they make his movements very very rapid and kind of frantic. And I think in this moment, while he's struggling, he's got this internal struggle that's happening on the outside, and I thought it looked good. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
I know. I don't really have anything remarkable to say about that scene. I think it just kind of went by me.
Remarkable.
Yes.
Ruffalo.
But later on, he does it again where he says something angry, and then his face goes a little green, then comes back. I remember not liking it there.
Right.
So
yeah.
That one specifically, I remember not liking, but this one here, I don't really have much to say about it. Anyways, so yeah, he transforms back into Bruce Banner. At this moment, Loki and Valkyrie are told by the Grand Master to go down and hunt Thor and his Grand Champion Master thing back. So Loki and Valkyrie start to have a little bit of banter as they are now the new bounty hunters to go get Thor and Banner.
Mm-hmm. Then they have a little standoff, a little skirmish.
A little skirmish,
and then Loki can actually kind of hold his own against the Valkyrie. Is that
true?
Yeah.
I would say so. I'd say they have a nice little standoff. Yeah. They both have nice power. They both have Guardians fighting. Loki's also doing his very Loki thing, where he's actually figuring the other person out instead of fighting them.
Yeah.
Trying to
that's
learn
the
them,
thing. Mm-hmm.
which is very smart. I always like that.
Yeah.
Loki's always doing two things at once. So
I think that's the thing I like about Loki too, is that he's always somebody who is kind of thinking. It's like everything is a game of chess for him.
I was about to say the same analogy. He's 3 steps ahead in the game of chess. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got so many things. He's doing step 1, but he's already thinking step 10.
Yeah.
At the same time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
So after this, Thor meets up with Valkyrie, of course, because she's tracking him down, and he proceeds to then try to convince Valkyrie that she needs to join his team that he's putting together. He's now suddenly putting together a team that just happens to be called the Revengers.
The Revengers.
Which I actually like. I think it's a good reference. I like the idea of Thor getting jealous that he wasn't part of the Avengers.
Okay.
I think it's kind of fun. So I like this idea of him making a Revengers team that because he wasn't in Civil War.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of fun. And so he essentially creates a team of Revengers with Valkyrie, Loki, himself, and Bruce Banner, who Valkyrie doesn't know is the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, do I know you? And he's like, do I know you? And he doesn't really remember if he knows her or not. Bruce Banner's having an internal struggle where he's worried that he can't turn back into the Hulk again, or if he turns into the Hulk, that he can't turn back into Banner again. He's not sure which one it would be, which makes sense. I think that's logical for Bruce Banner to be scared of, because that's uncharted territory for anybody. Mm-hmm. So I think every time he turns into Hulk, he should be scared that he might not turn back into Banner again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like a werewolf syndrome, I kind of like it. It's I don't know, there's something fun there that you could really play off of with the Hulk. Mm-hmm. In these moments, we have some really fun moments where Loki talks to Bruce, which is good. Loki talking to Bruce is something that hasn't happened in a while. So Bruce is pretty much kind of confused, oh, he's good again? He's not really sure where Loki's at and his allegiances lie, which is a valid point because Loki's kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. And they decide to create a diversion
so that they can get through the devil's anus.
That's the one. Yeah. Actually, there is, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they create a diversion where they can break out Korg and the fellow prisoners from the arena. They're trying to kind of rescue as many people as they can and get over to Asgard with an army if they can. So they decide to break out Korg and all those other prisoners like Mike. But in this time, Heimdall also shows Thor that they have to escape through the largest wormhole, which you call the Devil's Anus, and that is. I kind of like this whole scene where Thor is talking to Heimdall because Heimdall's looking at Thor. Thor's with Heimdall, but he's not actually with Heimdall.
Yeah.
And like, there is something about these shots with Heimdall where it just looks like Lord of the Rings to me. They've done such a good job at making Lord of the Rings. Like, I want to see an alternate Lord of the Rings where Heimdall plays Aragorn, because he just looks like Aragorn in the weirdest way. Like, he's got the best costume design and everything here. There's a waterfall in the background, and I'm like, throw this dude into some Lord of the Rings movie for me, because it needs to be done, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think it looks great. It's cool seeing him in this kind of environment, because we're used to seeing him as the pretty much like the Guardian, right? He wears this like full on gold armor. He's got a big sword. His eyes color matches his armor. Yeah. And now he's not like a disheveled kind of person. He's just
wild looking.
Yeah, more wild, a little bit more
ranger.
More raw.
He looks like a ranger.
Like a ranger.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if Amazon Prime today, well, apparently they've announced that they're doing the second age of Lord of the Rings, and I don't know, if they have any character available that they can throw Idris Elba into, like, I think they should, because he just looks like he suits that world so well.
I thought you were going to say if Amazon Prime were a character, it would be Idris Elba as Heimdall.
Yes, that's exactly my point. Okay. Anyway, so they decide they have to escape through the largest wormhole here, and that is their plan, and they break out the civilians. During this, we also go back to Asgard for a brief scene here where Scourge is rounding up civilians, trying to find out who has taken the sword or if anybody knows where the sword is. Mm-hmm. This is kind of a sad scene because it is reminiscent of things that have happened in real life in like totalitarian governments where they round up the civilians and they kind of like blackmail them into giving them information. Where they line up a bunch of people and just say like, if you don't tell me where the Nazis would say this about like, if you don't tell me where the Jews are, then like we're gonna shoot you
and your family.
And what this does is it doesn't actually lead to the truth all the time. It just scares people into giving them an answer.
Just whatever that they think will get them out of the situation. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, somebody steps up and says like, I'll take you to the sword so you don't have to kill anybody. But like, they might just be creating a diversion and just walking around in circles for as long as they can to just delay the inevitable at some point. So it's kind of a sad scene. That's at least what I was thinking about while watching the scene. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
During the escape, Loki betrays Thor and company, of course, because that's what Loki does. Just before this betrayal, there's a really fun scene where they say, like, oh, let's do Get Help.
Oh, yeah.
And Loki's like, no, I hate that one. Thor's like, come on, you love Get Help. Yeah. He's just like, no, it's really embarrassing. And I love when they do it immediately. Just somebody get some help.
Oh, what a good scene. It's funny that we actually get to see them do, like, have a moment like that where it's like, I guess it's kind of like brothers trying to... Well, it is like it's like brothers just trying to foil other people, trying to like like get what is it? I can't think of words tonight. This is one of those nights.
I know,
but they're just trying to skirt the law, kind of thing, just like wreak havoc, and they do that by devising this kind of like plan, and it's
for sure.
It's fun to watch it. Like we don't get to have those deep connections like you were talking about, but we still get to see kind of like fun little quick moments of what could be based, what could have grown out of having like a deep relationship, right? Yeah.
And this is where I was talking about, there's not many scenes in this movie where I find the emotional connection that's relatable. This is one of those scenes where I actually see it, because it's Thor and Loki, and they actually have some meaningful conversation here. And in this scene, just before Loki does the betrayal, there's actually talking between the brothers where they talk about how like they've never been good or one for saying words to each other when it's like been emotional. Like you talk about how their dad pretty much just died, and they've never really been one to be able to get over these kinds of things by talking about it. So instead they end up just shooting all the other people around them, and it's like a great little like brother duo like action scene where they're just fighting everybody else. And I really like this scene because the movie's trying to send you a message, and it's really effective, where the two brothers just can't really tell each other how they feel because they're very different people.
It's Band of Brothers.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And then Loki officially betrays Thor, and in this moment, Thor knew it was going to happen, so he actually was prepared for this, and then betrays Loki in turn, which is really smart.
Yeah. He learned something from Loki and thought 10 steps ahead.
Exactly.
Somehow. Yeah.
Exactly. I like how he just kind of leaves Loki there, just kind of like being like shocked constantly.
Yeah.
Loki's just really destroyed in this movie.
Yeah. Which that's okay. It's fun to see it happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So during this moment, Thor, Bruce, Valkyrie, they all steal the Grandmaster's ship, and they go on this ship scene where they go to try to escape and get into the giant wormhole. At this moment, the Grandmaster is kind of right-hand lieutenant chick. She gets in another ship, and a bunch of warfighters all get out. It turns into like Star Wars and stuff. Everybody just starts shooting at everybody. Bruce has to like fly a ship, and he doesn't really know how to fly a ship. Valkyrie does.
That's like, yeah, I guess that is kind of like in Star Wars where they're breaking out. It's like Finn and Poe, right? They're breaking out and they're trying to figure out how do we fly this TIE fighter or something like that.
Or Anakin in Phantom Menace, you know, he's like, I'll do a barrel roll. That's a good trick. No, I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
What is that? That has happened?
Anakin Skywalker in Phantom Menace. He gets in a little like yellow.
Oh, when he's
fighter
like the
thing.
young kid version.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the ship starts like moving away. I'll try spinning. Anyways, sorry. That kid. I like to make fun of him, but it's not. I don't. It's just. It's a funny movie. Anyways, regardless.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there is a big ship battle scene here. Nothing too notable, except for when the Grandmaster does his little like orgy party music. It's my birthday!
With fireworks and stuff.
Yeah. I like how like that's
grand.
accidentally shot off, but it actually is effective in destroying a ship, so it works well.
Yeah. Does it actually like are the fireworks or whatever's happening, it's actually strong enough to blow up a ship, or is it just like
no, it just
shocks
somebody.
Distracts. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And then they fly into like an object because they're distracted. So it was well done. And a side note before I end this act here, Korg and the prisoners actually see Loki on the ground and they rescue him and goes, "Hey man, want to escape on that ship?"
I think just everything he says, like,
it's funny.
I'm pretty sure Taika Waititi doesn't sound like that regularly when he's talking.
He doesn't.
It's maybe it's because of like what the character is. It's like this big mountain of rock with like a very like very short, sweet kind of like verbiage. Just the way he talks is just like so quick and yeah, very nice. So yeah, that's where you end off your act.
That is my Act 2 ender, and I go into Act 3, which I called Ragnarok.
Very nice, very very fitting.
Yeah,
I called mine the Failvolution.
Ooh,
I guess. Yeah, I had to make that up because I totally forgot to put my Act 3 name earlier, but Failvolution.
All right. Well, then, let's get into it. I got a scene here. I'll play Loki. You play Thor.
Okay. Asgard's not a place, it's a people. This is never about stopping Ragnarok. It was about causing Ragnarok. Go to the vault. Search his crown. It's the only way.
Bold move, brother. Even for me.
Yes. And again, so Loki does bring upon Ragnarok because he's the one who actually does the combination of ingredients where he mixes Surtur's crown with the eternal flame. I like to think he just like grabs the flame and grabs the crown, just kind of mashes them together.
Yeah.
And then it just
he's just like holding fire in his hand. And then
exactly.
Like, what should I? Okay. Put it together. Yeah.
In the scene, Hela is bringing her assault onto the Asgardians. She's going to
Any pepper? Any pepper?
So Hela is going to where the civilians are hiding, and she's just about to break down the doors. She does that weird thing where the doors fall and it creates a bridge, and she's like about to go destroy them, and Heimdall's all like, "Here," and everybody's like, "Ah!" And then Thor...
This is very accurate.
Thor arrives just in time to distract her by sitting in the throne room and doing a very Achilles-like thing to Hector, where he just bashes his staff down on the ground, and he's pretty much like, "Hela!" And she starts hitting his staff on the ground to...
Is that a thing from Troy?
Yeah, and Troy, Achilles comes to get Hector, and he goes, "Hector!" And he hits his staff on the ground.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, I've seen Troy too many times. And then, this works. So Hela goes off to then go and fight Thor.
Helen of Troy. Yes.
Ooh, well done. In the throne room. The undead army also comes back to life and decides to start trying... They go off to go fight the civilians here who are trying to escape. In this moment, Banner and Valkyrie are trying to fend off the undead army with the plane, but Banner quickly sees Fenris. And Banner says, "Don't worry, I can do this. You're about to finally find out who I am," kind of thing. In his moment where he jumps out of the plane and splats on the ground like a character in the old video game Rampage, where like they would turn into the humans and splat on the ground.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember in the theaters, like, I think my stomachs were hurting from laughing so much from this moment, and I still laugh a lot from this. Like I know
funny.
it's happening. I almost laugh more knowing that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
It's a good moment. I like it.
It is a really good moment. I don't know why. Like it's super cheesy. It's such a cheesy moment, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's great. Like, oh boy, it's meant to be so dramatic, and it ends with such a flop.
Yeah.
And then it's also the way his body just like kind of bounces when it hits.
I know.
You know, just it looks comical. And
Imagine
it's,
simulating that when you're creating the effect, simulating that moment would be really
Yeah.
funny.
it's great.
I actually like the shots after this where you've got Heimdall getting ready to then fight the wolf. So if you're thinking about Heimdall,
yeah.
in this moment he's pretty much just like, okay, that didn't work, whatever that was, and then he's just getting ready to fight this gigantic wolf, and he looks like he's so determined to fight this thing. And then
Yeah.
how the way the camera has the wolf in front of whatever's behind it, so the wolf's about to fight Heimdall, and then you realize that Hulk is actually grabbing the tail of Fenris.
Fenris.
So I like that. It's just a well done little shot there. Kind of fun, kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Loki arrives with Korg to help fight with Valkyrie and Heimdall against the undead army. This is where we get some cool redeeming Loki scenes where he's not such a villain anymore. Now he's doing cool Loki things where he's fighting everybody here and there. Ba, 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 ba.
This is where we see it's the Lord of the Rings, Return of the King fight with the undead versus
The
the
undead,
orcs kind
the
of thing.
past of the undead.
Yeah.
Ah, we are the undead. I hold you to your oath. So in this moment, they're all fighting, and it's in the script. It just says they fight. Then we go back to Thor, and he's fighting Hela, and Hela actually.
Oh, you know, I was just gonna like for some reason wanted to riff off that like you were saying in the script. It just says they fight, so it's like there's no choreography. They're just like, okay, guys, go fight. Just do whatever you want. We're gonna film it.
Just fight it.
And I just remembered that this movie, it was notable for being the one where it's like heavily improvised, right? Where
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they had a lot of things that were pre-written and scripted, but I guess they just decided like, nah, let's not go with that, and ended up just changing like a whole bunch of different things, which I think really worked for it. Like I can't say what it could have been like if they had kept to the script, but I think with whatever improvisations and stuff that they made up along the way, like I think that is a consistent thing. You know, the way that deliveries are made, the lines that they actually choose to keep, and just some of the scenes, like how they're portrayed. I think it's been very consistent. So yeah, I totally just remember that it was a heavily improvised movie, and it's hard to imagine that they could do that with such a like a big cast too, right?
Yeah, they had a lot of creative freedom in this film for sure, and it seems to have paid off. It works well. It's unique, but it works.
Yeah.
So Thor is fighting Hela. Hela slashes Thor's right eye out. It's fairly gruesome. And then he transforms into like a Super Saiyan. He gets all the lightning and sparkles. He's turns
more
into
sparkles.
Captain Thunder, and he shoots at his lightning and hits the Hela. And in this, it kind of just distracts her temporarily because he can't really damage her because she's very powerful.
Yeah.
And then he goes and joins his companions and fights off the undead army, and we get the whole dun 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 dun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, the song, I was about to say "Flight of the Valkyrie," but the song, what is it called? Some of the Immigrant.
Oh, I can't remember.
Thing of the Immigrant. I can't. I'm missing it in my mind right now. But it's
the commute, the transport.
It's like a Norwegian song though. It's like about like the
voyage.
the Vikings coming over kind of thing, right? So it actually totally makes sense and totally fits. So even though the song itself is like rock and you're not really expecting it, what the song is about is totally like sensical to what's happening in the movie. So I actually really like it. Very well done.
And then so it's this big whole kind of like big dramatic scene with everybody kind of getting their own thing. The Valkyrie comes out of the ship. The fireworks are going off. It's my birthday, and she goes to fight in slow motion. And then, I really like the moments with Loki where he's fighting because we don't really get to see him fight too much, right?
Yeah.
I think they're usually just kind of little moment. I mean, it's still a little moment, but this one he seems a lot more into it. He's more invested as a fighter this time around, as opposed to somebody who's just trying to figure out how to get out of the situation.
For sure.
And it's cool that he's using his helmet as a weapon too.
Yeah, I love that. It's so
Right?
good. Yeah.
The thing with the big horns. I mean, if you're gonna use it for anything else, like, what's the point, right? It looks like it's meant for a weapon. So
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, very Norse of him. So there's all that fighting. While this is happening, all the civilians are gathering onto the giant ship that Korg showed up in. This is supposed to be like the ship to help all the people get out of Asgard, so they're all getting onto the ship. While this is happening, Scourge also heads onto the ship with his little like cloak. I actually really like this scene where he gets on the ship and he's about to leave, but the undead army is now getting up into the ship, and Scourge instantly kind of regrets his decision, decides to be a hero. And this is such a good moment, and I wish Scourge didn't die, because I love this redeeming moment for him.
Me too.
Where he takes out Des and Troy, and
Yeah.
he destroys. It's so good.
I can't remember. Does he? I'm just trying to skip forward. But is there a moment where he jumps out while he's shooting, or does he walk out the ramp?
I believe he jumps out of the ship and
he
is shooting.
does jump.
Shooting all the other guys as he jumps out. It's so good.
That's such a cool shot. I
know he gets such a heroic moment there, and then even when the guns are out of ammo and he doesn't really know what he's doing, he just uses them to deflect swords and all that and fighting people with it. So I think that's cool too.
Yeah.
Hela sees this, and immediately after she sees his betrayal, she decides to kill him right away, which really sucks. He gets stabbed and dies. But that's fine. In slow-mo too. Which must be really painful.
He gets this. That's right. It hurts more, but the actor's got to do it. Yeah, but at least he gets more screen time that way if it's slow.
There you go. He gets paid more maybe.
Yeah.
So Thor and Loki decide that Asgard is not a place; it's a people.
Because
that's the theme of the movie. And Loki runs off to the throne room to combine Surtur's crown with Eternal Flame. He goes into the Minecraft crafting table, and he puts Surtur's crown there, and he puts the Eternal Flame there, and out of the output box comes, Ragnarok.
Then there's a giant hand that just picks out that character, pulls it out on the screen, and just makes it big, and it's just there.
Done and done.
Also wanted to mention,
Ragnarok
so we because I think, in case we don't mention it later on, but when Loki is actually in the... What do they call it? The tomb? Not the tomb. The treasure room?
Oh, sorry, treasure room. Yeah,
in Odin's treasure room, and he's looking for those things that he passes by the Tesseract and kind of he kind of hesitates a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like this is supposed to be the moment that tells you why the Tesseract is like no longer on Asgard, and then later on, we find out that Thanos gets it from Loki in Infinity War, right? So
it's funny because they don't show him taking it, but your mind is thinking he probably took it, right? Like, it makes sense for him to have taken it. It's very smart the way they did that. It's like, and of course Loki had to have passed the Tesseract at that moment, and he probably took it.
Yeah, for somebody who has had a history of using the Tesseract for a couple different instances, this is definitely one of those big temptations for him, and it's just like, same old Loki. What else is it gonna do?
Because other than that, when Thanos comes in the Infinity Wars, you would assume that they all just assumed that the Tesseract was destroyed, right?
Yeah,
it probably would have been destroyed because it would have been killed by the Eternal Flame. So, anyways, they all. So here Loki unleashes. No, I'm sorry. Loki combines the two things there. While he's doing that, Valkyrie and Thor fight off Hela. It's actually a pretty cool fight scene they all have right here. Valkyrie has some really nice moments in the fighting. I don't really give her enough credit in this movie, but she has a lot of good action scenes, and her fighting is very good here with Hela. Yeah. And just before, when all else looks bad, and just before they die, Loki then unleashes Ragnarok. Thor does the whole thing where she's like, no man can kill me, and he goes, "You look upon the face of a woman," and then and then he destroys her as the Witch King. But no, actually, he goes, "I've no plan to." He says, "This guy does." And I love how it's in the background of him. It's a really well done shot.
Yeah, he knows
the
exactly.
whole thing just,
there he is. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I feel like it would have been funnier if they just had a moment of let's do get help. Just appears let's do get help. It'll work. Trust me.
That would be good. And then I really like this moment where Loki unleashes Ragnarok and Surtur comes up and he's like, "Rah!" And right at that moment, Hulk then goes to fight Surtur. And Thor's all like, "No,
big
Hulk,
monster."
No. Yeah. I do like that. I think it's good. So obviously this just works immediately. Hela goes off to fight Ragnarok, and Ragnarok destroys her in one hit. I don't even know what her plan really was. It was create a giant spire, have him get hit by the spire, and then she just pretty much stands there while he just crushes her.
I'm not really sure either. It was weird because the whole time it was she was in motion on her thing that kept traveling towards him, and for some reason it stopped. It's kind of weird.
It was really easy for Surtur, who's very slow, to just crush her. So
good precision too. Use that giant sword to squash a fly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they escape on the ship. Hulk grabs Thor and Valkyrie and jumps up onto the ship. And then Thor, now captain of the ship, has all of the Asgardians aboard, and they look for a new place to call home. What's funny is
a new place to call Asgard.
Ooh, Asgard, you're right.
Yes.
Chris Hemsworth played...
Every time you say that, it reminds me of... I forgot in the beginning, when Scourge is talking about where he got Des and Troy, he got it from a place called Texas.
Chris Hemsworth played...
Thor.
What's his... No, oh my god! He did!
Did you not see it?
Oh, wow! No, what's his name in Star Trek? The main guy. Captain...
What? Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah, what's the guy? Chris Pine? What's the character he plays?
Chris Pine plays Captain Kirk.
Thank you.
James Tiberius Kirk.
Yeah, James Tiberius Kirk. He got the name Tiberius because that's his mother's father's name, and the reason he was named Tiberius was because of Chris Hemsworth in the prologue to Star Trek, because Chris Hemsworth plays Chris Pine's dad in the Star Trek movie, and he's the one who goes down with the ship at the very beginning and gets his wife out of there. And it's really funny because at the end here, while Chris Hemsworth is now aboard this ship, it's pretty much a Star Trek scene where they're all like, "Where should we go, Captain?" And he like looks at them, he's like, to uncharted places where no man has been before." And then they leave in their little spaceship.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little too sci-fi for me. Like, I don't like the idea of Asgard dying, and like the fantasy part of Thor is gone, and now it's all sci-fi. But at the same time, we even mentioned it in the first Thor movie. It was kind of heading this way even from the beginning. So
a little, and okay, I do see what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of a weird departure to all of a sudden get them into that environment, and then this is just what they are, or this is what it is now. I guess because when you think of Asgard, like it's a fairly grand place, but their technology is also very advanced, right? Like everything they have, it's like a mixture of magic and technology, and everything about them is advanced. Even though maybe traditionally they seem, I don't want to say old school, but maybe traditionally they, in some ways they don't seem as modern as they could be. But at the same time, Asgard, the way that it's painted out to be, it's just this like very colorful.
So am my dog.
Is that Thor? No, okay. Is that Fenris? That
Fenris
Asgard
puppy.
has always been kind of painted out to be this very kind of colorful planet, like out of this world kind of place, right? So I mean, yes and no. It's a bit of a departure, but I guess if they were to go anywhere else, like they'd have to. I mean, they already travel through the Bifrost, right?
Yeah.
And the Bifrost they made, it's pretty sci-fi.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like in the rewatching of this, the Thor series has been more sci-fi than I expected it to be, I guess. But it's sad to see the actual fantasy part of it really go, and we're just right now into sci-fi.
Yeah.
But anyways, it doesn't really matter. That's how the movie ends. It's a pretty nice ending. I like how Loki's on the good side at the end of this whole thing, and they're all looking. Even Heimdall's there. They're all looking towards Thor on where he wants to go. So I think it's interesting. Mm-hmm. We get an after credit scene here where Loki is asking Thor how Earth is going to take him going back to Earth. Like, do you really think it's a good idea for me to go back there, kind of thing? This is already Loki, I think, trying to departure from Thor and trying to go on his own way, maybe with the Tesseract, and get as far away as he can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He might even be well aware of the fact that Thanos is going to be coming soon. For all we know, Loki has like a separate plot where he's trying to save everybody and get as far away as he can with the Tesseract, so that Thanos will come to him somewhere else.
I kind of feel like if anything, he would be taking it just to save himself. But I mean, as a reluctant kind of Loki turn, he would probably end up doing something to actually. I mean, I could see it work both ways. Just seeing how far we've gone with Loki, where like he always seems like he's doing things for himself, but under like if you really look deep and see what happens with him, eventually is that he ends up doing things for the sake of his family or because of his family.
He's chaotic neutral.
Yes, sure, yeah. Cultural.
We also have another. Oh, sorry. And after that, we have a thing where Thor's like, "No, everything will be totally fine." And then it cuts and shows his ship, and behind his ship is Thanos' ship, which is rising up behind him. Now, at the time, we didn't really know that was Thanos' ship, but everybody kind of figured that it was.
Yeah. Actually, I did see a lot of people speculating that it was supposed to be one of the Guardians' ship, but I'm like, that's too big.
Yeah.
That's way too big.
There is. This pretty much leads right into Infinity War, so my fiance was really excited. She's like, "Oh my god, it's Infinity War next," and I was like, "No, unfortunately not. No. There's going to be a bit more before we get there." She's really upset that we're not just watching these in the order that she wants to watch them.
I mean, it would make a little bit more sense if we were to watch it based on what happens at the post credits, right? Because sometimes they lead into a movie, and sometimes they don't. Yeah.
The movie. The scene after this one is the Grandmaster. I said it's the Grandmaster who is all out of ideas. It's pretty much just him being like, "Good job, guys. Great job. Good effort.
Give yourselves a pat on the back.
Awesome rebellion. You needed me as the main bad guy to even have a rebellion." Like, it's just the weirdest thing ever. But you know what? Jeff Goldblum kind of sells it anyway, so it works. It's okay.
Yeah, good work, everybody. It's a tie.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, that's Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. Cool.
That's it. That's the one. Ragnarok.
That's it.
Anth0z, what was your worst character in this whole movie?
It's a tie.
Ooh.
Wait, is it a tie? I'm not sure. My worst. Ooh, worst character. Oh wow, that's actually really difficult. Wait, you go first.
Okay, I'm kind of leaning towards Hela, but she's not that
Yeah.
bad. She's not honestly that bad. And Bruce Banner, not Thor, but Bruce Banner. So I think I'm
Okay.
going to lean more into Bruce Banner because I spent more time talking about him this episode, so I feel like I like him less than
Yeah.
Hela. So
Okay. I was picturing Hela, but then I feel like I thought Kate Blanchett did a pretty good job portraying the character, but maybe it's just the character as a whole. I don't know. I guess I'll just go with Hela. Yeah, but not by any means saying that like she was a bad character.
no, there's just
It's
a lot of heavy hitters in this movie.
Yeah.
She's not one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
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 Okay, well then, what was your best character?
Oh jeez, I almost want to say the Grandmaster, but I won't.
You're going to meet the Grandmaster.
You know what? I just really had a lot of fun with Korg. I'm just gonna say Korg. He was my favorite character.
Hey man,
I
want to
just-
jump on this ship?
I love everything about Korg.
Yeah.
I didn't print enough pamphlets, and the only ones that showed up were my mom and her boyfriend, whom I hate. And it's just, I love everything about.
Do you think
what
you'd be
he
interested in
says.
something like that?
Yeah.
I love
Hey,
that.
want to start a revolution?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He's so
Revolution
quotable.
has
He's just
begun.
so funny. He
Yeah.
reminds me of Drax. He reminds me of Drax.
Oh,
He's
I
just,
see.
He's very quotable and very funny.
But like,
Good
way
job,
better.
Korg.
I think because like, okay, they both don't get it, but like I feel like that's the characters that they are. They're just like big oafs kind of guys, or
Yeah.
kind of characters. But with Korg, it's funny. There's less substance with Korg, but I enjoy it more.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Very surface level again, but it's very funny.
but just done really well. Yeah, that's all.
All right. Well, oh, sorry. My best character, I guess. Darn it.
It's tough.
I honestly didn't think this through. I didn't really think what my best character
Well, you
is.
shouldn't
I
have
like,
asked me.
yeah, I like Heimdall. I like Thor. I like Loki. I think I'm gonna pick Loki because I already really like Loki, and I think
Yeah.
this movie. I wish we could see more. I really
Well,
want to
yeah.
see more. But what we do see of Loki, I really like.
Exactly.
So I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick Loki as my favorite character.
I think the struggle that we're having is really what you're saying before we started this the podcast or the beginning of the podcast, that because we're not getting those extra things that we would want to really connect and resonate with the character, I think that's why we're having so much trouble trying to figure out like who did we really like and not
Yeah,
like, because
exactly.
we would need those moments to really say like, oh man, like this made me really feel like I liked this character or that character.
For sure.
So yeah, I would say that's why I think it's not that anybody did poorly. It's just we just didn't get enough of what we would normally need to be able
Yeah.
to answer the question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
the next question is: how does this movie rate as a piece of a bigger picture, like how comics are pieces of arcs?
I would say, geez, it almost feels really complete. But I guess because it wasn't really like an origin story or anything like that, but it feels very complete on its own just because it's like Ragnarok to me. It seems like it's a very big event that we would need something to lead up to.
Right.
And maybe because we had so many scenes, like very, very quick scenes, like line, punchline, scene. Like it's so quick that we get through a lot of sort of storyline. We don't get through a lot of character development per se, but we get through a lot of storyline, a lot of plot that happens on different parts of different planets, different times, and it all. I feel like it all culminates in a really good place. But I still would say that because we get to see like, you know, all the artifacts that Odin was keeping, and then there's the potential for what happens next, because they obviously like leave the planet, or they leave what was Asgard and have to go find they start a new journey to find where they will end up being. I think the only thing that takes away from me is, yeah, the whole like having Hela be there. It almost seems like it was kind of like a retcon thing, you know, like her whole
Right.
storyline, like, oh, where did she come from? And all of a sudden there's this tapestry that was hidden right? Everything's just like writers or just how it was envisioned was just like, oh, let's just make it seem like it was always there to begin with, but we're just not revealing it until now.
Right.
So I think that kind of takes away from me from it being something that could be connected to so much more. But otherwise, I think it does an okay job. Maybe I give it
That's
like
a good point.
6 or 7. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would totally agree with that too. If there's a lot of moments in this movie where it really feels like it's in the middle of a huge, grander than life kind of story, and this is just a small snippet of it, and does a really good job of that. But you're right, like the actual Thor plotline of Asgard feels more secluded to just Ragnarok, which is just this one film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're totally right about that. I agree.
Thanks.
And that's our final thoughts of Thor Ragnarok. So everyone, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and be sure to catch our next Marvel Marathon episode where we're going to be talking about Black Panther.
Ooh.
I know, we are on the road to Black Panther.
On the road to Black Panther. No, that doesn't work.
I'm on the road to Viridian.
Yes! Oh, you got it! Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
I love that
cool.
song.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, Black Panther, which, if you recall, was actually named our favorite character of Civil War, which I find crazy right now. But I remember when we watched that film, his lines were so good. We broke it down a lot. If you're interested at all, go to our Civil War episode and check out what we thought about Black Panther in that movie. But he was my favorite character of that movie, which is so bizarre to me because I remember not liking the Black Panther film. So we'll see what happens.
You hate it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when I watch it this time. But I'm hoping I enjoy it. Maybe I do. I just remember not liking it in theaters when I saw it. So
yeah,
we shall see.
That's
anyways.
Fair.
Yeah, have a good one, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, everybody. And bye. Bye. Bye.
You're going to see the Grandmaster!